one day that baseball is gonna stop. You know, a lot of kids, I see like parents are investing so much money into them. Like right now, like, okay, we're gonna do this training, we're gonna do all this. And they're putting everything in that one boat. Like they're not giving them another outlet, or they're not thinking about the future outside of baseball. It's all about who prepare and who's gonna have that mental toughness and who's gonna do the extra little thing to win that battle.
As they say, talent can only take you so far. Now, the ones that has talent and hard work, obviously they separate themselves from the ones that work hard.
All right, man. We back. Episode 13. We got Tony Sipp in here, man, from Pascagoula, Mississippi. Former MLB pitcher, father, husband, which is way more than just a baseball player, man. Very excited to have him. We family as well. It's a great opportunity to interview you, and I just kind of want to let you, introduce yourself to the people and everything.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm Tony Sipp. My hometown wouldn't let me go without saying I'm from Moss Point. Internet has birthplace Pascagoula, but we don't have a hospital in Moss Point. But anybody from the area would tell you that we're proud to be from Moss Point. So Pascagoula, it's a neighboring city. The type of pride that I like to go by, start from my hometown, give them that due respect. But yeah, Tony Sipp, 39 years old, retired in 2019, played 10 years in the majors, 5 years in the minors. Biggest accomplishment in baseball, 2 World Series champion.
Okay, talk heavy.
Yeah, about me, small town in Mississippi. One of 8 by my dad, only child by my mom. Happily married, kids happy, wife happy. As far as me and, any kind of accolades, baseball was it was definitely good. And I appreciate everything that I've had and the gifts that God gave me to kind of give me a head start in life. But was a baseball player by trade, but, just all around, just hustler, investor at heart. And so that's kind of like the quick version of everything with me. But, I'm pretty sure you have your whole lineup and everything that you want to talk about. But, that's the quick version of the background.
Of course. And, on this show, we do a lot of mental health. And, before we start, I got my main man with me every show, a.k.a. Big Stepper, Goof. Y'all know who he is. He with me every show. My God. But, yeah, man, just get back to, it's a mental health pod. And we really like to focus on the mental side of things. And I just want to, at Moss Point, it's a lot of drugs. It's a lot of killings. It's very dangerous. It's a good side and a bad side to every place, but for you to have a mentality, because like you said, they don't even have a hospital in Moss Point, that's how small it is. And just for you to have a mental mindset as a kid to know, okay, like, I'm special, like I can really, make it out of this situation that I'm in, and I don't have to live this same life. Like, where did that come from? Was that from your dad? Like, where did the mindset come from, for you to be able to see more than the city that you grew up in?
I have to give credit to both my mom and dad. Like I said, I was the only child with my mom, and I watched her grind through, odds and ends retail jobs.
Mm-hmm.
She went and worked at Steinmart. She worked at Spencer Gift in the mall. I don't even know if that's even. I think it's still around, but just low paying jobs at the time. My on my dad's side, one of 8, so he had a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I had the best of both worlds. On my dad's side, I have this big family, brothers and sisters. A lot of love. At home, I had more of a one-on-one thing with my mom. A lot of love on both sides. But growing up, grew up in a split parent home. But they both did a good job of, under the circumstances, making sure they did a good job of co-parenting, even though they weren't together. The relationship side didn't work out, but, I feel like they gave me a good balance of, letting me be a kid and keeping me out of adult situations. And, just trying to get out and find a better way. I looked around and just saw the opportunity. A lot of the people that from my hometown now, it's Ingalls Shipbuilding, which they basically call 13th grade, because once you graduate high school, you're gonna graduate and go to the shipyard, because it's kind of like the thing that everybody, the easy thing, and make good money. But my whole point of playing sports was to just try to get free college from the beginning. And so, everybody has their story. Mine wasn't like, oh, I knew I was going to be a Major League Baseball player and, take care of the family, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I took mine kind of one step at a time. I'm in high school, wasn't being recruited like I thought I would. My only goal was to try to go to college for free, because I knew, one, moms couldn't afford it. Dad had way too many kids to invest in me and, send me to college. So we, shout out to my younger brother. We're 3 months apart. We joke around and say, we're ghetto twins, but he, his name's Darius Fountain. He instilled in me, from the start of like, hey, we just need to grind and go to college. Our families can't afford, anything. In baseball, they give you maybe like 50% in baseball. 50% scholarship in baseball is usually great, because I think they only get maybe 11. I'd have to look it up, like 11, 13 scholarships, whatever. And so they have to break up the scholarships. People usually don't get full scholarships. And, and that kind of chose my path within itself, because everybody that recruited me, I'd let know that, like, hey, I get this 50% is great, and you guys showing a lot of faith in me by giving me 50%. I was like, but I can't afford the rest of the 50% of going, even though college is half off, I can't go. I didn't have the money. And so, I chose my first college. It was Okaloosa Walton in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And I don't even know if they even call it Fort Walton Beach anymore. But I chose that college. I hadn't been to the field or anything. I went and looked on the website, seeing that, they had a fairly new field. But the kicker for me was they gave you $50 a week meal money to eat. And so it's as weird as it sounds, like that was my deciding factor of, I would at least be able to, not depend on mom, try to make whatever this $50 a week work out.
And not even interrupt, but for the people out there, when you come from a small city and when you have a co-parenting, what he's saying is his mentality was, I want to try to take off that load and that pressure as much as I can from my moms and from my dad, because I know that they have other responsibilities. And for some people that don't really understand, when you come from African American household or anything like that, like sometimes we're forced to be in roles that might not be the roles of what you're supposed to be at an age. Him saying I'm taking this 50 is like, nah, let me ease the load however much I can for my parents, because I know that they already going through stuff and I don't want to break them. So just the mentality of that is it's what a lot of people go through, and some people don't really understand how that dynamic, you know what I'm saying, of like, well, nah, I need to ease it up, because people that come from a situation that they might have the money, or they might have just stuff, or they don't even understand of, oh, if I do this, it'll take the pressure off my parents. Like, some people are not even forced to make those decisions at that age. So yeah, I definitely just wanted to highlight that, for the people whenever they listen to it, is just to put it in a mental state.
Oh yeah, and I did learn that at an early age. Growing up, I didn't have like the best clothes. I knew my mom, only child, not
Mm-hmm.
making a lot of money, so I would, you know, wear whatever I had, and like, it actually saved me a lot of money to this day because like, I still don't have style to this day because I wasn't the one online waiting on the new Jordans. I knew I wasn't getting the new Jordans. It's people waiting in line, getting checked out of school. Uh, my seat was comfortable. I sat in school. I knew I wasn't getting the check out to get no new J's. I just admire from afar. Like they're clean, but
I got I do gotta ask about that too. So like just the mentality of that is like, okay, well, I know I'm not getting this, or I know I'm not getting these shoes or whatever. Like, do you think that poured into more of your mentality to be like, well, I might not want these things, but I want to be able to afford anything, you know what I'm saying, within my life? Because I heard you when you introduced yourself, you said, hey, I do this, I'm a hustler, businessman, and all that. And just to be able to know, one day the baseball is gonna stop. A lot of kids, they're I see like parents are investing so much money into them. Like right now, like, okay, we're gonna do this training, we're gonna do all this, and like they're trying to instill everything to them, but they're putting everything in that one boat. Like they're not giving them another outlet, or they're not thinking about the future outside of the baseball thing. Like, do you think that those struggles early prepared you for, okay, well, regardless of what I do with this baseball thing, I need to have a plan out, after that.
they say if you want to learn how to walk the tightrope, do it without a net.
Mm,
And knowing that you have a safety net down there, you may not be as focused, but knowing that if you fall, that you're hitting rock bottom, that tends to key in your focus on what it is that you have to do, and that's get across that tightrope because in your mind you feeling if I fall, that's the end. That's the death of my career with everything that I had going. So my background and the way I grew up, I grew up with a chip on my shoulder, even on the field, because when I'm on the mound, that's the beautiful thing about baseball. When you're pitching, it's kind of barbaric where you're facing one guy. It's may the best man win.
mm-hmm.
Um, and the chip that I carried on my shoulder was you don't know where I came from. I don't get you out. I have to go back to my hometown where there's not a whole lot of opportunity. But if you get out, you still may have your mom and dad, and you can go into the family business, do whatever you want to do. But I didn't have that option, so I went into it like that old saying that the pirates used to have. Burn the ship, so you don't even have that option of going back to where you came from. Like you have to either take over or you die. And I've always had that mentality because one thing I didn't want to do is go back to my hometown, only baseball on my resume, and now I'd have to start over. And these same people that said that they was rooting for me now may be my boss. And so it's just keeping that in mind, and and that definitely makes you grind harder because I knew for a fact that I had to give my all and at least see what this opportunity that I was given was worth because I knew that opportunity wasn't given to a lot of people. And for me, the end result would be going back home and basically doing what I would have done out of high school. But as I could have worked my way up, I'm basically starting at the bottom of that 13th grade, like I was telling you, what you
Mm-hmm.
would graduate to out of high school.
Right.
But then I've been in the minor leagues at this point for 5 years, and if it didn't work, then basically would have wasted 5 years of my life. Then try to make something out of that, and so just knowing that simple fact, I didn't have a safety net,
Mm.
so it helped me focus more on my craft. And my daughter, she came when I was at Clemson. I was 20 at the time, and when she came, I was kind of like a hippie. I didn't need much to live off of. Like, never really had much, so it's like I'm not caring about clothes, shoes, whatever.
Right.
And it was just me. But then my daughter came, and she changed my life because it's like, hey, I have to provide for her now.
Mm-hmm.
And so between my background, me having a daughter early, that was a big thing that shaped my career early on because now I'm not doing it for me. It's bigger than me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had to treat it accordingly. And,
Right.
those two factors alone early in my career is a chip that I feel like I had on my shoulder. And I feel like that's what I could look at the player that's stepping in the batter's box, look at him in his eyes, and like really know that he didn't want it more than me because, like I said, I don't have a safety net. Like, baseball is life for me because it's going to be the thing that creates a better life for me and my daughter at the time.
Of course, and I feel that. And we had a brief conversation, and it just leads me to this point. And it's I give advice to I played basketball who wasn't on the baseball mound, but when kids tell me just about basketball and stuff, and traveled all around the world, grateful to have a 4-year college career, didn't play professional. When they ask me stuff about basketball, I tell them the mentality thing. And like I said, we had a conversation on the phone, and you were like, I prepare. I know I'm watching film. I'm doing everything that I need to do to know who I'm going to pitch against. So
Oh yeah.
whether he's a righty, lefty, what he's hitting, what I need to throw, my curve, what pitches that I need to throw. So for the pitchers out there, just the mental understanding of, okay, if he's hitting sliders and changeups, I know I need to throw something else to him. But preparing your mind to mentally when you're on that mound and it's pressured and it's a nationally televised game or at the biggest stakes, you know that you prepared yourself for that moment. Like, I feel like sometimes we're in the age of where your talent gets you a lot of things more earlier. Nowadays with social media, like if you good, you might have a brand send you something. We got NIL deals and stuff. And to me, sometimes I don't think that the kids focus on the mental mentality that go to all that. They focus on that talent. But as you know, once you get to what I call the majors or the bigger league in any sports, I call it the Lions Den because I feel like everybody in there a lion. You can't say, oh, I did this and that. Nah, you going up there with everybody. Everybody is king of the jungle over there. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
all about who prepare and who's going to have that mental toughness and who's going to do the extra little thing to win that battle. Because whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, you have a battle in front of you and you have a competitor that probably has achieved everything that you have achieved. And it's about the little things. So I kind of want you to talk about just the mental preparing because I remember you telling me on the phone, like, hey, nah, I knew what they like to hit. I knew what they were. So I knew the pitches that they were good at. Yeah, man. Break that down for me, please.
Oh yeah. And you're exactly right. When you work your way up the system,
Mm-hmm.
you'll start to see the gaps. You have talent.
Mm-hmm.
You got hard workers,
Mm-hmm.
and they would both kind of work their way up, kind of the same. But as they say, talent can only take you so far. Now, the ones that has talent and hard work, obviously they separate themselves from the ones that work hard. And this hand don't always make it. Hard work, unfortunately, it's a dog eat dog world. I don't care how hard you work sometimes, if you don't have the talent, if you weren't blessed enough, life's not fair. I've seen plenty of guys that if it was up to hard work, hey, probably be the next Michael Jordan, but just didn't have the talents, didn't have the DNA.
Right.
Like mom and pops didn't give it to you, God didn't give it to you. But like for me, I feel like I had a talent.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't the most talented, so I knew the only way that I would stick my niche would be I have to know everything about who I'm facing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was big on intel. When we talked, I told you, like, I look at like the last 15 to 20 at bats
Mm-hmm.
of every single person that I'm meant to face because I'm a left-handed pitcher. I know I'm coming in for left-handed batters. And so there's always slots that you would fit perfect in, and you have to kind of think like your manager, because your manager want to put you in the best situation for you to succeed, because makes you look good, make him look good, helps the team. And so every day I'd come in, I'd look at the lineup. I was like, if I was the manager, what would be my slot? When would I put me in? It's like, okay, well, we got right, 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 left, right, left, left. So I have to study this pocket of guys of left, right, left, left.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, they're bringing in somebody after you, because, I feel like I could face right-handers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd handle them fine, and that was the good thing that a lot of managers liked about me is, you didn't really have to think much about me, because my numbers against right-handers and left-handers were similar, but my job is to get left-handers out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when I would come in, it's usually like a pod of four guys, maybe five guys that, I'd have to study up on and face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's all I have to face, I should be well equipped when I go out there of knowing every single thing it is to know about these guys. And so I would go and watch every hit that they hit. And then you start to see a pattern. Like some guys like inside, some guys like the high ball, some guys like low. You start to see, and that's the good thing about the major leagues. They have every resource that you want. And so you can probably go and look at any batter from like his debut all the way up to date if you wanted to. And so the big thing with me is, learning how to use those filters and get rid of everything that I don't want to see and bring everything that I want to see. So I go back and I look at all their hits. I had a method, and the way I went in the film room, go and look at their hits, see what they're doing, but then I'd go back and look at. I didn't want to just leave that room just watching them just hit home run after home run, and so I would go back and watch 28 Bs of them failing miserably, and I would like for it to be like the most recent, because a lot of guys make adjustments, and that's the only way you're going to stick in the league, if you make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want you to make. I wanted to see what you were doing as of recently, because what you did in the beginning of the season that you weren't good at might not be the same of where you are right now.
Right.
And so I made sure all my information was up to date. Made sure that just did my due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, like I feel like when I went out there, I'm one step ahead of everybody that I'm facing, because I know what you can do. I know if I put this ball right here, like with my talent, my fastball wasn't the fastest. I had deception, but I know I'm not just blowing it by a guy. Like I have to be strategic. Like I have to put it exactly where I want to put it and know that you can't hit that. But all that came with, maybe like an hour or two in the film room of, hey, now I know your weakness. And it's a difference between hearing your manager or your coach come and tell you, well, this guy can't hit an outside fastball. And the difference is, like, when you actually see it, it's like without a shadow of a doubt, like, okay, well, I've seen this 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
They've attacked him here. He can't touch it. That's my plan of attack. Um, and a lot of times that margin of error is literally inches.
Okay.
It's like if I can hit this finger, I know I get him.
Right.
But this might be his hot zone. And so that's where you have to do your work of, it's a difference of knowing what to do, but then you got to execute your plan. And so that was the thing that kind of kept me in the league longer, because I would be so confident of what to do. And then I just go practice what I'm doing. And so, like, now I know I'm fresh. I know what I can do. I know I'm not going above my means, trying to do something that I don't, I usually don't do. At the end of the day, my rule of thumb is if that guy's good at something and you are too, and that's your strength. I go for my strength. I just, I believe in
Confidence in yourself
myself.
too. Yeah, believe.
Huh?
I said that's confidence.
Oh yeah,
Saying yeah,
and
like being confident within, like if they're good and you good, like nah, I'm still gonna bet with me. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah,
yeah,
but
I'm not gonna throw my third best pitch just because you can't hit it because I may make a mistake with that pitch. I'm not as confident with that pitch.
hmm
And so, it's all about, one, knowing yourself. As they
hmm
say in baseball, good pitching beats good batting any day
hmm
because hitting is just tough. You're hitting a round baseball with a round bat. And so, knowing how tough it is, that's another thing that gives you confidence.
hmm
And literally every single thing that you do to prepare, and this is in life too.
right.
The more you prepare for something, the more confidence you're going to have when you go at this whatever project, sport, relationship, you name it. But actually knowing that you've done your due diligence and prepared, uh, now you can you walk in the room, and I coach a 10-year-old baseball team now,
Okay.
and I tell them like, hey, practice the way you want to play because everything that you do in practice in the game, that should be the fun time. Like you should be ecstatic to come out here and showcase what you've worked hard for in practice because the game is only the showcase. It's like now you're showing everybody, you're showing the fans of what you worked on, what you practiced on. It's like this should be the fun part. The part that's boring is like the actual practice. And I was like, and I know practice is boring, but you get to withdraw from everything that you deposited over here in practice in the game, and then you'll see how fun it is when you come out there and you've done the work. When you step in the batter's box, you should feel good because like you're almost what's about to happen. You're like, hey, come on. It's like let me show you what I've been working on. And and that's your time to showcase everything that you've done that far.
I think I'm gonna touch on two things that you said, but the mentality of preparing yourself as a pitcher. Like I hope you guys listen to this and understand. He spoke a lot about preparing for a moment. You know what I'm saying? And it's not always about, because some people, you get out here in the social media now, they're going out, they're swinging, or whatever people are doing in life is always a camera, but you can work hard and still not be prepared for a moment. Him saying, I'm studying these batters, I'm looking at, oh well, nah, what they did recent, not longer. Like it's a mindset and it's a mental thing to know you're prepared for a moment, and it takes a lot of work. Like all that what he's saying, he's off the mound doing this. He's not out there with his trainers, he's not out there with the coaching staff. He's in his house or wherever he's at, and he's watching film. He's trying to learn and have the best advantage, mental advantage, to help him have the confidence to get on that mound and be like, okay, well, I'm confident in this and I know what this person is gonna do. That's, you know what I'm saying, what makes a pitcher from a 2-3 year to a 10-year pitcher. And the second thing I want to talk to you about is what you said, which is very important. And I'll use this analogy. Uh, I use this analogy with people that I talk to, but I tell them, like, when you're playing sports or when you're playing basketball, think about all the stuff you do. There's trainings in the summer. There's pitching coaches. There's lessons. There's like you're doing so much. You might be traveling, but you probably only have 30 to 40 games if you're not a major leaguer. So if you think about all the hours you put in of this work and you only have those 12 to 9 or whatever, how many innings you're playing to showcase your talent. So people that take for granted those practice moments, it's only 1% that make it to the major leagues. So if you're out there playing around at practice, which you might not think like, oh man, this is practice, but that 1 percentile around the world, baseball is global. You know this. Basketball is global. Football is global. Everything now is global. So you might think like, man, ain't nobody. But no, it's that one kid that's sitting there really taking it serious. It's that one kid that's going hard at every rep, that's working so hard. When they get to that game, you see the 40 balls or the 50 balls in basketball. You see the 40 home runs, or you see the no-hitter consistent at the no-hitter, that's people that's taking their training so serious and having fun in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of kids, like, you got to know the hours that you put in, nobody's going to see that. Nobody's going to judge that. Think about your family. They're not going to watch every single training, but they'll go to every single game. That's a difference. The hour span of what they see in you, they only see you for however long that game. You probably put in hundreds of hours. You know what I'm saying? So don't take no time for granted, because I mean, as Tony can tell you, it's only a 1 percentile of people who make it, and it's very slim. It's very, very slim. A lot of stuff, a lot of components go into it, but as you know, in life, we can only control the things that we can control. Like him talking about his chip on his shoulder, and him having to provide for just himself and his daughter. That's something that he can control. I can control my effort. I can control how I prepare. So, don't ever take that part of the game out. It's not just about the home runs and the working hard and the swinging and working with famous coaches and all that. It's about your mindset and how you prepare yourself for that moment. So, yeah, I definitely take that in count. Like, that's some real game. I kind of want to jump into this. Let's talk about like struggles in the MLB. Like, whenever you were struggling, like, did you have anything that you mentally went back to, a saying, a quote, or just something just to get you back grounded? You know what I'm saying? Because, it's good times and bad times.
Anytime you make a mistake, like, you can either let your past predict your future, or you can learn from your past, and it can be the same thing. It can predict your future, because either you pout about it and don't learn from it, feel sorry for yourself, and keep making the same mistakes, or I've always been a sore loser. I let it burn. When I make a mistake, it's nobody's more pissed off than me. And I'm still like that with anything. My friends know me, and they'll tell you he thinks he can do everything, because in actuality, I've been blessed, and I'm not taking credit. I lucky enough, like, both my mom and dad were both athletes. My dad was a track star, football star. My mom ran track, and so growing up, I seen that I can make adjustments to almost anything. Like, all it takes is me to lose a couple times, because I'm a sore loser. And so what I do, I may lose or something, I laugh it off like it ain't bothering me. But even if it was a Nintendo game back in the day, you whoop me at anything. Oh, I'm gonna pretend like I don't care, but I'm going home, seeing if I can get that game, and I'm going back to the lab, and I'm getting ready for the next time.
Right.
And so, just having that mentality of, it's okay not to be the best at everything, but I'm not going to continue to be the worst. Like, I'm not going to be anybody's punching bag. And so I apply that to everything right now, to where I've gotten a little better at taking losses. Because every loss is a learning lesson. I've seen this quote, and it's been coming to me, a lot here lately in this past couple of weeks, is your greatest learning lesson is your last failure, because you learn a lot during failure, because that feeling there, it sits there for a while. And when you're winning, when you're doing well, and you're talking about my checks and balances, I'm putting all this in because it ties into each other. Right. When you're going well, my checks and balances is not any quote or anything. I take time out to, like, bring myself back into the now. I try to keep myself in the present. Had a psychologist, a team psychologist in Washington, was, and I'm not big on, any kind of therapy. I know it's like the new age, everybody loves, like, the therapy. Of course. I wasn't a big fan, but this guy was, like, great at his job. And, he was saying, like, hey, anytime that you want to simplify anything, it's like draw a 3 foot diameter around yourself, wiggle your toes. It's like look down, wiggle your toes so you bring you right back to where you are. Then think about what it is between outside of this 3 foot diameter that you care about.
Mm.
And he was like, and you'll find out that all these problems that you thought you had and the problems that seems bigger than the situation, really not that important. What's important is like you run your ship.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one that control everybody around you. If you're not in control, then everything around you could be out of control because people are depending on you to make this happen. And so a lot of times you just got to bring yourself back to that present. Go down, it's a simple trick. Look down, wiggle your toes, bring yourself right back to that moment. Feel yourself breathing. Hey, I'm still alive. I I still got all the talents that I've had. I might not have been my best, but I know I can make adjustments. It's just all about checking yourself. And when I'm going well, I try to remember like the different steps of what it is that I'm doing while I'm going well. Because a lot of times when you're going well, you just think it's going to go that way the whole time.
Right.
But being in baseball, I've seen, everybody is like the stock market. You might be going up like a lot, but you're going to have that drop.
Right.
But the great athletes are the ones that could just no one's going to go up. It's stopping this downward spiral that you have and having the short memory because if you, every time you do bad, if you just reliving that, man, I'm doing bad, I'm doing bad, I'm doing bad, you're going to keep going down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get out of your own way, check your ego and like, hey, let me go back and get back to what was I doing when I was going well
Mm-hmm.
instead of focusing on the bad. And that's that mental part of the game. People want to sit there and live in that defeat.
Mm.
But the great ones, they have checks and balances. And hey, I know when I was going good how it felt because I took time. It's almost an out of body experience.
Mm.
Hey, what am I doing right now? Like, I would always, my one guy that I would call my oldest brother, Willie Fountain.
Mm.
And, every time, because people like, oh, you're so humble or whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm humble to most people, but I had my one guy that I would come to and brag.
Right.
You know, so everything, when everything's going well and I do my little checks and balances, one key mistake that I made if I could change anything, it would be stop bragging to my brother. Um, because every time I'm doing well, I did a good job of like paying attention to what I was doing when I was doing well.
Mm.
But then this ego would come. I'd have to call my big brother, Willie. I'm out here killing him. Like nobody's touching me. I was like, man, bro, I might be in the league for 20 years. And it's like every single time that, that ego start kicking in, it's like clockwork. That same day, my ball's getting hit to the moon. And it's like, you know what? Like, stop bragging, get to work. Like, stop feeling yourself.
Right.
And, to everybody else, it's like, well, I never seen that side of you. It's like, well, I only had one person that I really would go to and brag about because I know he's not going out telling anybody. But it was like my death sentence.
Mm.
Anytime, probably go 20 innings scoreless. And then I feel like it's the right time to go right back to him. And like, hey, that little home run I gave up that last time I bragged, hey, nah, not this time. It's not happening this time.
Right.
I'm on. Like I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. Just as soon as I said, it's like I can't even get it out of my mouth quick enough, and then here comes this failure. And so I've just learned to let other people speak for you.
Right.
You don't have to be the one. Like if you're doing something well enough, people will talk about it. You don't have to be your own promoter, and like people don't like that anyway. And that's why I never did it in public. He was my one guy to do it to, but it was like God coming down, and he would spank me every time I try to get outside and like take credit for something that was really just a gift to me anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that I was supposed to nurture, take care of, and just appreciate it.
Right.
And then here I am. I want to get to bragging, and and it's almost like he's showing me like, son, you still didn't learn. Like you still making this about you. You still got this ego, and they always say, pride comes before the fall, and that was one thing. It never waited for me. As soon as the pride came, hey, bad night. Like don't bet on our team because I'm about to come in here and mess this thing up.
No, I most definitely feel that. I got a couple more questions and then we go end it. I want to talk to you about being what was the biggest thing that you had to overcome on your journey?
Biggest thing I had to overcome, I think one, just not being the typical height as a pitcher.
Okay.
Being from Mississippi, I didn't go through and have all the lessons to
Mm-hmm.
have the right mechanics, right form.
Right.
And so, during the draft, the same things that made me good is the same thing that they talked about me in the draft, to where I shouldn't get the amount of money that everybody else was getting.
Right.
So that created another chip because it's like, oh, his mechanics are funky. It's like that's not gonna last. His arm's gonna blow out. He's not tall enough, not smart enough. And and I hate it because I see it all the time in like the wording
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of these scouts do for African Americans in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go and do, and I try not to put race into anything because like I've been surrounded by good people all my life. I pride myself on like, hey, even if you don't like black people,
Yeah.
um, give me a chance, and I can show you that it's at least one cool one out here.
Right.
And and that's one thing I took pride in when I was on. A lot of times I was the only black person on any of my teams,
Mm-hmm.
and I take pride in that because if I'm going to be the representative of our culture,
Mm-hmm.
I want to give the right representation.
Right.
And we already have that stigma of being angry, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, hey, nah, I'm gonna take a different approach. If you don't like me, like something's obviously wrong with you. Like let's talk about that because I'm trying to see it from an open-minded point of view. And one, you have to understand that they just might not understand your culture, might not have grown up with a lot of people, a lot of blacks around them, and so they only know what they've heard, what they've seen on whatever CNN, Fox News, just point blank. Period. A lot of people just don't know us. They've been taught to hate us,
Yeah.
and so I just want to be that living proof of like, hey, let's just go off of like what we have right here. Let's go back to this 3 foot diameter of like
Right.
who's here, who's in your space. This is me. I'm not these stereotypes that you used to. I can only be me, and like, yes, I represent like my culture as being an African American. It's like, but you have to understand it's good and bad in every single race, culture, or whatever. And some reason we just had that stigma of all the evil stuff is black, all the pure stuff white, and it's everything that you've been taught. I take pride in let's get rid of everything that you think
Mm-hmm.
and let's just take this case by case. It's like, because I'm pretty sure you got anyone, you can just look at any family. You
Right.
don't even have to look at race or anything. You can
Mm-hmm.
look at any family. There's one guy that just can't get right, just gonna mess up,
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
in and out of jail, whatever.
Of course.
Probably the same situation, same household, and his brother's over here doing everything right.
Right.
He's using everything from his past to not want to be that,
Right.
and then the other one's using it as an excuse of that's why he is the way he is, and that's all mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to know that, hey, no matter where I was born, I can't help that. I can't help the cards that I was given.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I can help is what I do from here on out,
Mm-hmm.
what my plans are, what I don't want to do, what I didn't want to do was, you know, be that same person that like my mom was, working check to check, bringing everything back to the house and still not having enough.
Right.
A lot of people's like, oh, you know, we just don't have the same opportunity, which is true in like a lot of our cases, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a true believer in money don't bring happiness, but it does give you opportunities. Um,
Right.
and so, you know, just having my mentality, like I don't really like make excuses for myself anymore.
Yeah.
It's a yeah, life comes at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and most people try to feel sorry for themselves, like, oh, me, I got a bad break, and I, you know, my situation, wouldn't nobody understand me, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. When in actuality, you can do if you stop feeling bad for yourself, because feeling bad for yourself is not helping you progress at all.
Right. Right.
What you can take is that hurt and that pain is like, I don't want to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to work 10 times harder because nobody else knows what this feels like, even if you're wrong. And, you know, that you're just telling yourself that so you can work harder.
Mm-hmm.
You're making yourself better from your past. And it's not a good past. It's just something you don't want to go back to.
Right.
And that's why I was talking about that safety net. I feel like I was tightroping without a safety net because, hey, I don't want to go back to that. Like I know what's back there.
Right.
If anything, like I'm only, even if I have to stay here, you know, if I got to stay here to get my mind right so I can go forward,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do anything but go back to the very beginning because, like, I
Definitely.
know that hurt.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's your mentality because you know I'm a true believer. Most people are a product of their environment,
Mm-hmm.
um, but the ones that beat those odds use that the bad side of that of what they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the fathers that weren't in a lot of people's life. You know, they were like, oh, I'm a bad father because I never knew love or whatever. But like, no, you knew how that made you feel. So when you recreate this, when you just go through this cycle and repeat that cycle, you know what it's gonna do to your little man or your little lady. So if it made you feel that way, how could you even go about it and treat somebody else like that
Mm-hmm.
and have that cycle repeat itself? You learn from that.
Right. Right.
You go back like I didn't like that, and I'm pretty sure you know. He's like, I don't know if my dad knew what he was doing to me, but I'm not doing that to mine.
Right.
And so, and that's with anything with life.
Yeah.
If you don't feel sorry for yourself, use everything as learning lessons and learning tools,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't go back to that same hurt
Mm-hmm.
that you had to deal with. And that is the big difference that I've always seen with the ones that get away. You know, how they say some apples do fall far from the tree.
Right.
Hey, that tree was poison, and you know you chose to keep rolling.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get away from that because like that's not where you want to plant your seeds.
For sure. And just to intervene on that, I think it's a mindset thing. Just the environments that just to be real, black people come from. It's literally they promote it as the trenches or anything, or you come from a situation of not having much, and then you say, like you said, most people say apples don't fall from the tree, but just having the mindset of you can do more. That's a self belief thing that come within yourself, and you
Mm.
have to accept to yourself that these situations is not good for your life. It's kind of like you spoke on the 13th year, whenever you go into whatever that was. Where I'm from, it's the plants. Whenever you get done with school, no matter how you do, no matter what you do, they're feeding you to go to the plant, which is a
Mm.
good life. And I'm not don't condone it, you know what I'm saying? To all my people, I know people that work in the plants. I'm not saying that that's a bad life, but when you look at your situation, it's like, that for me, I don't want to do that. I see
Mm.
myself doing more, and a lot of people just can't see that vision within themselves, but they not understanding that everything around you can fuel that image of, oh nah, I don't want to be this, I could be more. But it's a very hard thing to see, and yeah, it's tough. I wanna kind of get to you, which I wanna hit this topic quick, and then I just want to talk to you about being a father, and then we can dip out. But just the mentality of being a champion, of going through that World Series. That's ups, downs, playoff series at the playoff series. You know what I'm saying? You got to deal with media during that time, and also you got to have everything around. A lot of people forget that MLB players are really people. So you go, like, just because you're in MLB don't mean you don't go through real life problems. You might have an argument with people. You might fall off. You might lose somebody. Somebody might die. Like, I think sometimes the media takes that element out of people to where you feel like there's, guys that play in there are superhuman. It's like they're very talented at that sport, but that does not take them from being a human being. Like so I kind of want you to talk about the mentality of, and what it felt like from a kid just trying to just get in school to be able to win, multiple World Series. I kind of want you to talk about that.
Being a kid, I didn't have like a bad childhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's, believe it or not, like having my dad on this side with a big family, my mom with just me.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of freedoms on both sides. When I'm over my dad's house, now it's not just me. Like all eyes on me. I can kind of fade off in the background.
Right.
Being on my mom's side, when she's not at work, yeah, I'm right there, and I get all the love that I need. It's all about me.
Mm-hmm.
Every toy in the house is mine. I don't have to share none of that. And a lot of times she was too busy because she'd have to work. Then I get the freedom to like really see who I was,
Mm-hmm.
because I'd go over like my aunt's house, and my aunt's was a little more loose, a little more lax, and so I got a chance to really give myself enough room, have this creative space to like really figure out who I was. And I tell people all the time, I feel like, I can make adjustments easy. Like I really don't feel like, I'm a stranger anywhere because, just the two different dynamics. Dad almost, we got the starting five in basketball plus 3 subs over here. There's 8 of us.
Right.
And then, I come over here and, it's just me, I wasn't going to say I couldn't do anything wrong, but, it's just me and my mom, and I learned to be a protector in that aspect because, I watched her go through, boyfriend after boyfriend, heartbreak after heartbreak.
Right.
And, for me, it's like, I'm going to be that protector. It's like, Mom, as soon as I can, I'm gonna stop this hurt, like no more tears or whatever, and whatever you have to tell yourself to make it happen. But like that's who I wanted to be for my family,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like my mindset of why I feel like I can handle way more than that's given to me because I've been blessed enough to uh, be able to handle my problems. But like I love being of service to other people. And so, people's like, you're going to spread yourself too thin because you always want to help other people out. And, and I tell them, and I truly believe, I was like, man, I asked for this.
Right.
I've always said that, if it's got to be somebody, I want it to be me. I believe in myself that much that if somebody has to be leaned on, like, give it to me. I was like, I feel like I had the shoulders for it. I, feel like I had the patience for it, the right upbringing, and just all around, just the circle of life that I I really don't get down about too much. Like even when the world seems like it's spinning out of control, like I can kind of find my peace to get to back to my creative space of, hey, God's always had me thus far, and I can't say it on your live, but I was like, I don't know why he liked my ugly butt so much, but he does. It's like I can't explain it. I can only be grateful that he does because Lord knows it's not because a lot of my actions sometimes because I wasn't always the best. I wasn't always the hardest worker. It's and I can't even call it luck. It's like I have to find out why I'm here because he keep giving me chance after chance after chance.
Right.
But I think a lot of that just went to like my heart,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always been willing to help people,
Mm-hmm.
and so it just you know, like they said, to whom much is given, much is required,
Right. Right.
and so for me, it's like I know that I didn't have to have these skills, and even if I had these skills, the world didn't have to have a game that I could play to showcase these skills that would even pay me the
Right.
way it do. And so, it's a lot of people with crazy skills that don't pay anything. And it's like,
Right.
I could have easily been one of those.
Yeah.
As blessed as I am, to just have nowhere to put it or whatever. I'm just bragging about being good at video games. But nowadays, they're even getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And man, nah, that great story, great just great mindset about just wanting to be the person, what I'm saying, carry that weight on your shoulders and be the person that like be able to stop your mom tears and all that. I think like a lot of people aspire to do that, but whenever the hard times come and uh, they might not make it and what they want to do, they lose that dream without knowing mentally that you can do something else and still be able to take it up. Like, some people are just swinging for the fence on one thing. So I definitely admire that. I got one more question for you, then we'll get to the code and the real, and I'm going to let you out. We almost at time. Great with time, like I said. But I do want to talk to you about, forget the baseball stuff, forget all that. Man, let's talk about you being a father. I seen your family. This was probably like 2-3 years ago. I seen your wife and I seen your kids. They were at we are doing something in I think where y'all from or whatever, Mississippi or something. And I had met them briefly. I know they don't remember me, but I did. I met your family one time. You wasn't there, and I know, during baseball, during training, you're away from your family a lot. So, like, how has it been being able to be a father, like full time and not be, because, whenever you're a big sports star, sometimes you have to sacrifice some moments, but only to better their life and to make sure they have the life that they want. But like, how has it been, like, hey, I'm retired, I loved, I hit you the other day. It was like, yeah, man, I'm taking my wife to the Usher concert, man. That's so amazing because you deserve that type of time. Sometimes granted you probably took your family out, during your career, but to be able to sit down and be there every day, not have to go to training, spend more time with your wife, spend more time with your girls. Like how has that been, man? Like talk about that. Oh, another thing too before you start, because they a lot there's this narrative of black fathers don't not there, black fathers don't do this. So it's kind of why I want you to be able to tell your, what I'm saying, tell your story or what you're doing now. So go ahead.
oh yeah, I mean, and I have two sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up being a young dad for that 20-year-old, I put all my focus into baseball because I knew that I wanted to give her a better life.
Mm-hmm.
But here as of recent, I've had hard conversations that, she said that, Dad, yeah, my life has been better with you playing baseball, but I didn't get your time.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as that hurt, it's a blow to the ego,
Mm-hmm.
but you really have to hear your kids.
Yeah.
Um, when I was playing, like I honestly, if they told me to be wherever in Chicago, I had to be in Chicago. I want to be in Atlanta, I got to be in Atlanta. And anybody that would come up and see the games, I would try. Hey, can my daughter ride with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I do my best to get whatever time that I could, knowing that I have to be at destination A, B, C, wherever they tell me to be,
Mm-hmm.
just to keep the lights on. It made her life better,
Mm-hmm.
but then the bond, like that quiet time, that awkward silence,
Mm-hmm.
you could feel it being forced because like we're still trying to get to know each other.
Right. Right.
Um, and so is great as a father as I am to the young ones, I had to learn from like what I did when I didn't have the time.
Mm,
And so now, and I'm not going to say I was forced into retirement,
mm,
but when COVID hit in 2019,
yeah.
they didn't want you with your families.
Mm,
And I was at that point in my career where I was making the least amount, because everybody got their peak, and when I'm coming down and the salaries coming down,
yeah.
I just reached a point to where it's like, you know what, it's not worth like not seeing my family and making the least amount that I've made in a long time.
Right.
And so I just, let me take a break until we get this COVID thing on the reps. And and that was probably, I'm not gonna say a mistake. It was the best thing that could have happened to me
Mm,
that forced me out of the game,
mm,
put all my attention. I became a soccer dad that same year.
right.
My daughter, she wanted to try soccer, and I told myself anything my kids want to do. I try not to put too much pressure on them, but I want to make sure that I'm there supporting them,
Right.
uh, you know, without trying to put too much pressure on them.
Good.
And so, me being there for like the soccer games, the bus stops, the Christmas plays, like everything that you can imagine that could fill your heart, I got a chance to do it. We had to sit down and sit in the house and be away from other people during that COVID time, and so even that brought you closer together.
Correct. Yeah.
You can't go outside, can't play with your neighbors. Like really, all you had was right here in this household,
Right.
and so that built the bond, made me a better father. Uh, you know, it's funny because during that time, domestic violence went up. And
Mm,
it was like,
mm,
people not at work anymore. You really have to see who got in that house.
yeah.
And if you don't really like who you have in that house, you just can't up and leave no more. Because now, at that time, we thought everybody was contagious.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but, all, being there, being close with my family, like that made me a better father, and made me see, what really matters.
Mm,
And I thought about, maybe I can go and get like squeeze a couple more years out or whatever, but this will require me losing time with my family that really needs me. Like at this point, like they really looking to you to, they're trying to figure themselves out, trying to look at you to see like how you are, to see what they could be. I always said like, Daddy, am I going, do you want me to play baseball? No, I
right.
did that. You don't have to do that. Like I did that, so you don't have to do that. You do whatever it is that you want to do. Dad is just here for support.
Mm,
One thing that I can instill in you is my mentality,
mm.
and let you know, like, hey, you come from some good genes too. My wife actually, she played at Auburn. I
Oh.
don't know if you can see a little jersey over there.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I ain't know she was an athlete too. Okay, okay.
oh yeah,
Okay, okay, oh, all right, okay.
yeah. My wife played softball at Auburn, and
Okay.
a lot of people don't know that. But I let them know, like, hey, you have good genes. The same genes I have. You surrounded by two great athletes, but tell you it's all about what you put into it, and that's that's what I have been able to do now in this phase of my life. Is now I can sit down and talk to you. I want to be, you know, put away all the distractions or whatever. Like I've had my time,
Mm,
um, and they are the reason that I keep, going into these Airbnb businesses and
mm,
try to stay hustling because kids don't care what you did.
mm,
They don't care if you won World Series or made All Star teams. They really don't care. It made me wake up when my kids like, well, Dad, all you do is sleep on the couch, and so it's like, what, I because I told myself I was going to give myself about 3 years of just let me do nothing. I've been having to be here, point A, B, C, wherever. I have to
Yeah.
be there for the last 15, 16 years. So once I retire, I'm not doing anything. So anybody that knows me, they know I can sleep. Found myself on that couch a lot, and COVID actually made it easier because, like, oh, I'm saving the world. I'm not being around other people. I'm on this couch sleep. But then you see the way your kids look at you. It's like, man, they looking at me and probably think that they can do this same thing. Um, and so, like, you have to recreate yourself of showing them that, hey, no, dad is still working. Dad is still trying to provide, something for the legacy. And that's one reason I went into real estate, because if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, whatever you buy a house for, when you go to sell it, it should be right there what you paid for it, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but it should be right there around what you paid for it. But that money that you hustle out, that passive income that you make with having tenants, and that passive income that you just get from owning the property, owning the land, having it furnished, whatever. That's that passive income that you don't have to work for. It's just coming. And this is a vehicle that I can pass on to my kids because you don't really have to do anything but have the right subcontractors to come in and fix your property every now and then, just have good upkeep, and it should make more than
What you spent for it.
yeah.
Bro.
And so that was kind of my mentality of I wanted something to leave to my kids. And, if they didn't want to do it, I could still have the right vehicle set up to where it could run itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just long story short, with like the mentality that I have as like a family man with his kids is, you know, me, I feel like I've had my time, but the thing that I want to do now, I want to put the best of me in my kids and give them more of an opportunity than I had, give them the resources that I know I wish I could have had growing up. And like, I think I did a good job because me not knowing fashion and all that, like, I have some of the hardest kids to deal with on the planet because they just think this world was always meant to be catered to them, and they could get anything. And and the hardest part now is to try to get them to appreciate things. And you sound like that old dad, like, oh, if you would have seen the way I grew up or whatever, we had to walk up hills both ways and didn't have shoes, and like, you just sound like that guy.
360, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But in actuality, I'm proud that they don't know that life. I changed that curve for them, but at the same time, I want them to appreciate like what dad had to go through. Learn about your people, and that's one thing that I'm big on. A lot of people don't know, like Sipp. Our last name Sipp is from uh, my great great whatever that got caught. He was a runaway slave from Florida that got caught in Mississippi without his papers. And that's how we got the name Sip, because a lot of people are, oh, that's a cool name, Sip, and you're from Mississippi. But then you think, like, if you knew the backstory, it's not that cool,
Right.
because
No
as
English.
far back as
No
I
English.
can go and check,
Yeah.
like, that's all I have. And and people take that for granted. But I tell anybody, in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you came from.
Yeah, I say that
And
all the time. Facts. It's facts.
and I and I always make a joke. Well, if my great great escaped from Florida and made it through Alabama, oh, he was fast. Because Alabama don't play, but he got caught in Mississippi, and that's kind of like where our name stuck. And I was even talking to my wife about that. Like, do we even know if everybody's some kin? Like, what if he named all the slaves on that plantation Sip? And we thinking everybody's family or whatever, but it could be just a label. Like they said, it was just a lot of times it was your craft. It was whatever your skill set was.
Right.
And ours was just like where he was captured
Mm-hmm.
in Mississippi, and that's where I got the name, which, you know, bittersweet. But then I looked at the pride that my granddad had of that last name,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you know what? Now they may have taken away my ability to go back and search like to at the very beginning. But the one thing that I'm proud of, I at least have my granddad proud of that name, passing it on to me
Mm-hmm.
for me to take pride in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can't go back that far, but I had the right guy around me to make me respect that name and take pride in that name, and you know, and take something that was meant to be negative, and now it's something that, you know, I take with pride because, you know, you might can't go back and find out like where we were or where we were born in Africa or whatever, but I know what type of granddad I had.
Right.
I know what that name meant to him. I know what it means to my aunts, my uncles. You know, everyone's proud of it, and you know, and I'd like to think that, you know, I was a big factor of, you know, just adding on to that name and that legacy
Mm-hmm.
to where whoever comes after me, hopefully, you know, gives them something to build off of, because like if you know you got it in you, then you really don't have any excuses. Like, hey, if it's in me, I should be able to overcome whatever it is that I got ahead of me, and
Right.
you know, and
Right.
that was kind of like my mentality, and it's
Yeah.
like I said, it is all mentality.
I
You know,
love that. That's in this. We're gonna do one more thing, but that's kind of how my grandfather was. Schoolboy, rest in peace. Grew up under him. He loved being a fountain, and he really instilled that into me, like what that mean as a man and character. And, you know what I'm
oh yeah,
saying? Yeah, so I definitely 100% agree. But this is the last part of the show. I call it decoding the real. A lot of people call it giving it flowers or whatever, but I like to call it decoding the real. This is just where, you know, I have a real moment, man to man, on camera, not like, you know, everybody on social media think, oh, well, you know, it's weak to give people praise or give people flowers, or they kind of, you know, but not me. So just to keeping it real with you, like I said, not gonna sit up here in front like we talk all the time, but I've always known you. Every time you was in the majors and you would give tickets to Dexter, Damon, Eli or something, I never took it just because I felt like I wasn't a baseball player. And you know, I know when you're that athlete, you know, a lot of people ask for things, but I did always admire the way that you worked. I always did research, always asked questions if I was around, and I respect, you know, the man you are, the father you are, what you accomplished, but now even more what you're accomplishing off the field, doing Airbnbs and all that. That's just as amazing as a 10-year career, or just, you know, having that Sip jersey on for a major league. So, man, respect to you. I just want to let you know you motivate me from afar. Thank you for being you. Thank you for chasing your dreams. Thank you for not quitting. Thank you for being the example and a pillar within our family, and then within just people around the world that you inspired, and to the kids that you're helping, and whoever else you inspire, man. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the pod, and truly want to say I'm a big fan, and yeah, I appreciate you. So yeah, shout out to you,
I appreciate that, man.
man. Shout out to you.
You know, a lot of people don't know. You know, my dad's a fountain too.
Dog.
Uh, you know, and that's the crazy part. Like those fountains, like that bloodline is strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like really proud men. You know, love the name. And I'm a fountain at heart. You know, it's just hey, the paperwork. You know,
Paperwork a little messed up.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
nah, I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah,
Nah, man.
but but nah, man, I appreciate that, fam, and it definitely means a lot to me because, you know, the best compliment you can give anybody is that, you know, you've inspired them, you've done something right to help their life out. I know you would end up doing the same thing because, you know, you don't mind giving those flowers out,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll take you a long way because a lot of people think that, oh, just because, you know, if someone else got it and I don't have it, you know, the first thing they want to do is be envious of that situation.
Right.
But you'll learn that the people that have it, they didn't always have it either, and they had to get their game from somebody else, and like you would make somebody want to help you more if you like, hey, Mr. So and so, I appreciate you. This is what I see that you have going on. Want to be like you, man. Do you mind mentoring me? And you'll find that most people don't care about reaching down, helping you out because they probably had that same hand. They probably had their hand up and somebody reached down and helped them out. But to be open and not, not be jealous and just really admire, what people are doing right because a lot of these things, they said nothing new has happened under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything that people are doing, somebody's done it before. You just have to get that blueprint and follow it and stick to it because even that blueprint ain't easy. Like those tough times, man. It seemed like it's long, but then, you've been through them problems of, oh man, I don't know how to ever get through this. But as soon as you get through it, you look back like, man, that wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I just had to keep stepping. I had to keep going.
Right.
And so, but yeah, man, and that's kind of why I see. Like I said, I don't like I said, we don't talk much,
Mm-hmm.
but in your journey with this podcast, man, I heard you say this was episode 13.
Yeah.
Just keep going, and I wish you nothing but success, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. That's a wrap. We out. Make sure y'all follow, subscribe. I have his socials up so y'all can follow him. And just a quick message to the followers that because we be quick gain in subscribers and everything. Thank y'all so much for subscribing. We had a big jump over this past. Before this episode get out, you guys we'll probably have another jump. But I just want to tell y'all thank you. I appreciate you. And since day one from the start, now just look at where we at. Everything's getting better. We'll continue to keep working. So peace out. Have a great day.